Hello everybody! I am here to do the mid-year book Freakout tag. This is a little later than I normally would do it, but I still wanted to do it anyway because I haven't missed a year yet. I think since the first time we did the tag on the channel. To be completely fair, I didn't count anything that I had actually read or purchased in July. I stopped counting at the end of June, so some of my answers are all predicated on that. The other thing I wanted to say is that I wanted to quickly talk about some of my statistics because I thought they were so interesting when I was looking at them. So this year, I've actually already completed my reading goal. Actually, I finished it in June. And the interesting thing about that is that a large chunk of what I've read, which is in line with one of my goals, is manga and or graphic novels. I'll count the graphic novels too, even though that's like a small fraction of that number. But it's just really interesting that almost 48% of what I've read this year has been manga. I'm not mad about it because I've been enjoying myself, and it's been nice to like pull series off my shelf and actually, find out whether or not I want to keep them on the shelf. So that's been a lot of fun, but I also am just amused that that happens to be the case. I also am doing pretty well with my TBR goal from where I was at the beginning of the year with my TBR at the time of January 1st. I'm actually down to almost 50, which is wild to me, and hopefully that will continue to be progress. So yeah, that's just like a quick stats update for you. Anyway, we're gonna get to the questions now. This should go by real quick. I tried this year not to do the thing where I had more than one answer for a question. I succeeded in some places and then I failed in others, and you're gonna see that later on. But we're gonna start with the first question, which is, what is the best book you've read so far this year? I had to think long and hard about this because there have been so few books that really left an impression on me. I also wanted to factor in whether or not I had spoken to someone about the book, how often I had mentioned the book, how often I revisited or thought about the book. And you know what? At the end of the day, I know that right now this would be my answer, and that is ASAP by Axio, because I loved this book. I devoured it the minute I started reading it. I could not stop. I had to keep going. I had to find out what would happen next. And part of that is because I had been anticipating this book for so long, because I had wanted to read the story of the two main characters in this book who actually appear in the novel XOXO, which came out a couple of years ago. I had always wanted to read their story. I wanted to see if something was going to come out of it, and this book gave me all my answers, made me so happy. I was just thrilled that it existed and thrilled that I loved it. And I just have talked about this book so frequently and pushed it on quite a few people. And I've just thought about moments in it every so often. Like I'll think about something Nathaniel said, or I'll think about something Sori did. And it's just so good. And I just love ASAP so much. If you couldn't tell, like it is literally my favorite thing. And honestly, I may just have to reread it again before the end of the year. Anyway, the next question is the best sequel you've read so far. This one I also had to think about because I didn't want to count companion novels because I don't feel necessarily like they're sequels, because you can technically read them as standalones. And the truth is, I've probably done that in the past. I think I pretty much did it last year because I don't think I had read as many sequels then. This year I've actually read quite a few. And the one that stands out to me that is a sequel that I really enjoyed is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. It just really hit the spot when it comes to the kind of cozy fantasy I like, because it does have those cozy vibes. This one in particular gives you very autumn-winter vibes, but I really love that there's still a sense of adventure in the stories. It's very Ghibli, actually, or at least the Ghibli that I enjoy, because there's a lot of like nature involved, and there's like this Fae lore involved, and you're still in an adventure with these characters. Plus, it was just fun to be back with Emily and Wendell and to see what they were going to get up to next. There were some unresolved things from the first book that had to be tackled in this one. Honestly, the direction that it took was not necessarily what I was expecting. I don't even know what I was expecting, but suffice to say, I was really impressed by how this book still managed to reel me right in, and I need to reread. Again, this is another one where I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to read the first one and the second one and then just, bask in that. I am happy to note that we are getting a third book, which is really exciting to me. The next question is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. And this one I've actually known about for a while. I still haven't read it, but I do finally have a finished copy of it. It just sounds so good. And that is Saints of Storm and Sorrow by Gabriela Buba. And this is a Filipino-inspired fantasy book, and nobody had to say anything more than that, because I will always want to try and read books written by Filipino authors. And this one sounds just so fascinating. So I'm hoping to get to this one soon. The next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. This is one of the questions where I'm going to cheat because I'm going to talk first about a book that I don't have my hands on yet. And that is Tessa Miyata is So Unlucky by Julie Abe, because I loved Tessa Miyata is No Hero last year, and I have enjoyed Julie's middle grade books ever since her first one, Eva Evergreen. So I'm excited to see what happens next for Tessa and her friends. But I also wanted to talk about a book that I do have on my hands, and that is The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. This one just came out at the start of July, so technically it's the second half of the year. And I'm just gonna count it because a Mulan-inspired fantasy story sounds right up my alley, and it sounds so good, and I am hoping to love it. The next question is a biggest disappointment, and you know, I am only gonna mention this one in the sense that it didn't quite live up to what I was hoping it would. And that would be, well, there's two. I don't think at the time that I'm posting this video, I've posted my wrap up yet, but one of them is Powerless by Lauren Roberts, because I went into that one hoping that I would enjoy it as much as everyone else seems to have. But unfortunately, the writing and some of the execution of the tropes just didn't gel well with me. And I'm still on the fence about whether that's a series that I wish to continue or not. And the other one I want to mention is To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods, which sounded really epic in scope and super interesting because it sounded unique, but unfortunately just the way it was executed again fell flat for me in some ways, and I just didn't end up enjoying it as much as I wanted to. The next book is the biggest surprise. There are two for this one, and I don't actually have anything on hand with me. The first is The Cat Who Saved Books, which I ended up just randomly being like, I'm gonna read this month. And you know what? It was surprisingly good. Like, I got surprisingly emotional about it, and I wasn't expecting that. I really enjoy The Cat Who Saved Books because the emphasis on stories and books in all formats and just reading in general was so interesting to me, and it felt very much like reading a Studio Ghibli movie. Again, I think I've said that already in this video, but that one also felt very much that way. The other book that I would consider a big surprise is The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland, because I was curious about that one, but I wasn't entirely sure that I was gonna really enjoy it, and shockingly, it is actually one of the most impressive things I've read in a while, just because it just reeled me right in. The story was like well-paced and unique, and it was also easy to get a grasp on and just like fly through, so that one was also a big surprise to me in a good way. Favorite new author debut or new to you? I mean, we're gonna have to point out this author because I don't think I got to mention her last year for this, and that is Elsie Silver. I have finally read all of her backlist. I have read the 4 Gold Rush Ranch books, plus the novella, and I have read all 5 Chestnut Springs books, and by this point I have also read Wild Love, and like, she just hits for me every single time. Like, the woman knows how to write a romance. Like, actually, she knows how to write a romance, and she also knows how to not just make you fall in love with the main couple, but also like everyone around them, the place that you're in. Like, every element of her story just works for me so well, and I'm both excited that I've caught up, but also very sad that I'm caught up, because then I have no new Elsie to read until I think like later this year, so there's that. The next 2 questions, I'm just gonna do them together because it's newest fictional crush or favorite character, and I am gonna talk about 4 characters in this one. So first, we're gonna talk about, so Sokka is how I've heard it pronounced just now. And you know what? He was just so entertaining for me to follow. He is exactly the character archetype I like, who's kind of reserved, a little grumpy, he loves coffee, he's really like determined to earn back his place. He's a little bit of a trickster, and like all of those things really appealed to me. Another character who I really loved is a secondary character in the book Darker by 4 named Ash Song. He is the older brother of one of the characters, and he just fits perfectly into that stereotypical like big brother who's really capable, who's also a natural born leader, who has a lot of charisma. Yeah, I loved him. And then I also have to mention Soshiro Hoshina, who is from Kaiju number 8, which is a manga/anime that I've devoured this year and did not anticipate loving as much as I do, but like, he is my favorite, and that's unsurprising given that he is very much a strategist. He's also kind of funny. He's got like an irreverent sense of humor. He's also got ninja skills, and let's be real, that is the thing that appeals to me the most about him, so that was fun. And of course, I cannot fail to mention Jin Woo-sung, who is the main character of Solo Leveling, because he also gives off that like very capable big brother vibe that's determined. Can you tell I have a type? Because like, really, I have a type. He is just such a blast to follow in both the anime and this manhwa, and I I love him. I love him. So those are my new favorite characters this year. Book that made me cry is the next question. And for that, I'm going to mention Ready or Not, which is by Cara Bastone. It's a book that my friend DJ recommended to me, and I honestly did not think I would love it as much as I did, but I was like sobbing by the end of this book because I was so emotionally invested in this love story, but also in just the journey that this main character goes on. So yeah, this is not the only book that made me cry though, because ASAP made me cry. Oh, the Breakup Tour made me cry as well. Crescent City 3 made me cry as well. There are quite a few. The Archangel's Lineage made me cry. Like, I've cried quite a few times this year reading. I should have kept tabs. You know what? Next year I'm going to try and keep tabs on that. Anyway, a book that made you happy. Well, I mean, you guys already know I'm going to mention it. Like, I was just so happy reading this. Like, there was just something about this book that was just so enjoyable to me. Like, it was just so fun, and it just made me so happy to see it exist. Like, the fact that it exists makes me so happy. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, that's it. Favorite book to film adaptation you saw this year? Pretty easy, and I'm gonna do the same thing I did before, which is like pick a manhwa that became an anime. Solo Leveling, because just seeing those action scenes animated, it's so good. It's so good. And the same thing can be said for Kaiju number 8, which so good, so good. Oh my goodness. And, you know, I gotta mention the usual faves, My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer. So there's that. Most beautiful book you bought so far this year or received. I'm just gonna show you like these because they are very pretty. So I've been holding up ASAP, but I didn't tell you guys that this is the Fairy Loot edition. It has these beautiful edges. It's signed, but I think my favorite thing is like the under the dust jacket cover because it's beautiful. Like, just look at that. How ridiculously pretty is that? Speaking of special editions, I also have this Fairy Loot edition for Darker by 4, which I thought was really fitting. What I really love about it, actually, are these end papers because, like, hello? And, you know, it has the sprayed edges too. And, like, this one, so pretty. Like, I cannot tell you how much I enjoy this character art. I also have another Fairy Loot edition, which I also mentioned already. This is the God in the Gumiho. I really like the UK cover. I actually like the color of the regular cover more, but I prefer this to the US cover. Also has sprayed edges. It has stunning character arc, once again. Art. Did I say arc? I meant art. And it also has this, the Creature Cafe coffee cup. I wish it existed, the Creature Cafe, because I would totally go and visit. Beautiful. So there's that. And an Illumicrate edition I need to show you is for Of Jade and Dragons, which has this epic sprayed edge. Also has fun character art, and it has this beautiful hardback print on it. So yeah, I was very lucky. I got a lot of very pretty books this year. The last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And as always, there are like so many books. I'm gonna link my video where I talk about my 2024 TBR because definitely gotta get to those and I want to finish that list. But I'm also just gonna show you, like, obviously I already mentioned Saints of Storm and Sorrow and The Night Ends with Fire, but 2 other books that I want to mention are Business Casual, which just came out in July, and Funny Story by Emily Henry, which I am actually going to be reading very soon. So there you have it. Those are my answers for this year's mid-year book freakout tag. I'm sorry it's a little late. I kind of wanted to get it up earlier. Hopefully that will be the case next year. But if we have any books in common, or if you have questions about any of the books, or just want to say anything at all, please feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!